Hello, and welcome to Modeller's Monday Roundup, Episode 9. ELMS Lane is a shelf layout depicting a fictitious British Railways Southern Region locomotive depot scene in the mid-1960s and portrays a stabling area beside the main shed, whose side walls are seen as the backdrop, and incorporates the shed's coaling point and water tower. The layout is built on a floating shelf and is approximately 4 foot long by 10 inches wide, with an additional small length off scene as a head shunt cum fiddle yard.
Welcome back to this latest instalment with the progress of the Eurofighter Typhoon as part of a Then and Now project. In this update, we will take a look at the final stages in the construction of the Eurofighter Typhoon, and we'll also look at the diorama which both this and the previously built Supermarine Spitfire will sit with. To start with, we're going to look at the installation of some missiles. This will feature 6 advanced air-to-air missiles, the first 2 of which, one will go here, one will go there. So 2 missiles have now been successfully painted. They've given 3 coats of paint in total using Humboldt 167 and have now been installed. Now I'm going to put 2 more missiles in place, and they will be going, if I get my little pointer, into the areas here and here. And these are the 2 missiles here. Again, as we've done with the other 2 missiles previously, we will give them a paint of Humboldt 167 before we put them into place. With the second set of missiles successfully added, we now look at further missiles. The same sort of missiles, the advanced medium range air-to-air missiles. One will go here and another will go here. However, they both have to sit onto pylons first, and it's them bits that we've got to work on. The first missile has been successfully attached to its pylon. Both these parts have been painted with 3 coats of Humbrol 167. But now these are matched together, it is ready to be attached to the plane. So with this missile and pylon now successfully attached to the plane, we've repeated the process as what we've done with this one for the other side. So with the other pylon and missile now fitted, this only leaves one more part to finish construction. That's 2 other missiles with their associated pylons. One will go here and the other one will go there. They are different to the other missiles that we've already attached. The missiles already on the plane are advanced medium range air-to-air missiles. The other 2 missiles to be put on are advanced short range air-to-air missiles. So with the last 2 missiles now attached, that is the main construction actually completed. So from here on, what we're going to do is give it a coat of spray using cheap hairspray. That will give it some sort of finish, and then we'll be ready for some decaling. Okay, so as we work on to the actual base now for the diorama, we've done first of all we've created a framework using 2x1 timber. This has again all been cut and sized to the required size that we need, which is actually 50 centimeters by 35 centimeters. So this is the diorama base. So the next stage for this and all this framework is we're just going to give it a spray coat of paint just so it don't look so plain. We're going to use a black paint for this. At the same time, we've also cut out the actual board of which will sit on top. The board is just a bit of 6mm MDF. We do normally use either plywood or foam board, but this was to hand. So again, this has all been cut, ready to go on. But before this gets attached to the framework, as we've already said, the framework's going to be painted, and we're also going to give this a quick coat of black as well. This will help adhesive for any of the scenic stuff we're going to put on it. So with the framework painted up, as well as the actual baseboard itself, the next stage will be to actually fit this onto this framework. So it will sit onto there, and then we'll just put some screws in to hold it all into place. So with the board now attached to its framework, we're now going to mark out the areas for the different parts of the scenics. We're going to have some areas of which is going to be the grass, of which is where the planes will sit, as well as some walkways where the public would walk around to see and visit the planes. So with masking now made up, the areas of unmasked, this area here, this area here, will all be given some scenic material using a green scatter material, of which we've obtained from our friends over at Harrison Brown Models. Okay, so the actual glass flock has been applied. Before the flock was put straight into place, the areas were given a coat of PVA mixed with water, a 2-part PVA, 1 part water, with a very touch of fairy liquid added into the mix. That was then brushed all over the areas. The flock was then applied, and now this is just basically all dried into place, setting, which will take approximately 24 hours to get fully cure. Once that's done, any areas that need any touch-ups can then be done. Okay, so the grass areas. After it all dried out, it was given a coat of hairspray. Following the cheap hairspray, it was then given a 50-50 mix of PVA and water. This was then allowed to dry again before a final coat of cheap hairspray. This has really set the grass in. It's quite firm, it's very, very solid. So now that bit's done, we're going to work on this area here. Again, further scenic material, we're using this scenic material. And again, we obtained this from our good friends over at Harrison Brown Models. So with the scenic now successfully applied along here, we've got one final area of scenics to add here. We're going to use colour similar to that, although it is lighter, this colour here. So the first stage, as with everything else, it will be given a coat of 2 part PVA to 1 part water, of which will give a good firm base to allow us to sprinkle this stuff on top. So we are now finally coming to the end of the then and now project, and here is the completed baseboard diorama. Since we've added all the scenics, we've given it a coat of hairspray, cheap hairspray. That was then followed by a 50-50 mix of PVA and water. That was literally painted all over it. And then one final coat was added of cheap hairspray again. This has produced a really good finish. It's produced a really rock solid finish. So yeah, that's how we've come to a conclusion for the base. Here is the finished article now with both the planes on the diorama base. Although we are calling this project done for now, in time we will end up probably adding some extra details, i.e. we're going to put some figures on. Likely odds are we're going to find some sort of stairway for public to be able to access the cockpit, wheel chocks for the wheels, but that's all very much at a later stage. But for now, we will happily say this is the end of the Airfits Then and Now project. Thank you very much to everyone who's been following so far, and hope to see you in what I get up to next.
Hi guys, so I gave you a break last week just so you don't fall asleep too often. What have I been up to? I've been up to quite a bit actually. Initially I finished the F-18E. Fairly pleased with it, but I did do a goof, which makes this game more interesting, shall we say. Definitely more interesting. After I took the masking off the cockpit canopy, which came out fairly well, some touches needed, I realised on fitting the canopy, I'd actually scraped off a lot of the black from the cowling underneath it. So it took some major surgery to get the canopy unglued and sort that out. The canopy's gone back, not brilliant. It was a lot better originally, but that's what you get for being a numpty. So I'll show you around this lady first, and there she is. Really lovely kits, these Academy. I think most of my stash is Academy right now. So VFA 143 Puking Dogs, and that shot of the tail. You can probably see why it's moved around a little. It ended up being called Puking Dogs. As I related earlier, did not go down too well with a lot of the public. Initially, Pentagon said stop calling it Puking Dogs. People didn't stop calling it Puking Dogs, and eventually it was accepted officially. But anyway, there she is. Aircraft are a learning curve for me, so I'm pretty pleased with how she's come out. I kept the weathering fairly subtle on this lady. They don't always seem to weather up as the earlier A's, the legacy Hornets. Somebody will prove me wrong on that, but I don't care. So yeah, there she is. And so since then I started yet another one, another Academy one. Very boring, but they are excellent kits, and it is in fact this one. And it is the F-15C, F-15, beautiful fighter plane. Still probably one of the best flying. And she's not a young girl anymore. This is the C, the MSIP, which I could impress you and tell you what it stands for, but I've forgotten. It doesn't matter really. Another lovely kit. Just been working right now, if you can see, just on that joint, along with the fuselage off. If you can see, one day I'll get the rest of my camera stand and I'll be able to show you properly. But anyway,
That one you can't see too much because it's been cleaned up. Not finished yet, but has been cleaned up. As have the air intake rams. They were an interesting idea. Joined at the bottom, and then two chamfered edges allowed the top piece to sit in, which meant somebody with rubber fingers like me managed to squash them and squeeze them in all kinds of directions till the glue started to tack off a little bit. But anyway, that's no problem. And then clumsy Steve tonight managed to snap off one of these prongs, which means it's glued back on, but the canopy sits on that, so hopefully it's in the right position. I will have to clean some paint off where the canopy will glue to it, so I'm going to have to be very careful with that. And the biggest news is, I realised this week, despite doing a lot of work on the railway, I was no longer enjoying the railway, and it was becoming a stress for me. And this is a small room, so I did not have a lot of room really. And being in the model store the other night and drooling over the Temperature 350 scale Nimitz class carrier, as I mentioned as one of the questions I would love to build. So I am going to build her actually. Later this year I will be picking her up. It's going to cost me a little bit of a chunk and it'll take a while. But I decided I needed room to build models that I wanted to build and not just what I could fit. So whilst I'm perfectly happy doing my 72nd scale aircraft, I decided if I rip the room out, box the railway up, maybe in a few years I'll come back to her, or maybe I'll have a better space somewhere down the line. At this point I'm not sure. So I'm going to show you the room now with no model railway. And there we go, as you can see. It took me just a few hours coming home from work tonight, because when I make a decision I just do it. And as you can see now, this area here is going to have a new board on top. This will allow me to put big models on when I'm working on them. My workbench is now going to sit in this corner here. This will be Saturday's work. This shelving unit here will be over there. And the model railway controller is going to come in handy for me to connect up my electric mini drill, which I can now mount up here somewhere permanently. I'll be able to put the compressor up here for when I'm airbrushing and keep it there without having to keep pulling it out, putting it away. That's got to be nice. And I'll have more space here and a lot more light to build, and I'll have all my paints and things rearranged in a far more convenient manner. But I probably miss the railway, but it's becoming a stress to me rather than a relaxation. The room was becoming far too tight. As it is now, I will have a nice area for building, and this area here is just a nice size for a 350 scale nuclear powered aircraft carrier, coincidentally. So Saturday morning we'll be off to the DIY store just to pick up another piece of the board just to put across there, and have to fit a leg in here, and then it'll be a few hours of rearranging, and then I'll show you what else I've done on the F-15 if you're all still awake. And that's it for me, and have a good week everybody. Oh no, before we go, I'll just show you I got to stop going to the hobby store, but since I've been going to the hobby store I've come out with an old kit actually, but not that old, but a nicey A6E intruder. Love US Navy aircraft, that's a fact. And I picked up this week Academy's F-15E, which is a bit more of the more modern mould, a bit more clip together type thing. So I have to be careful there not to clip them together and find out that I've actually assembled it. And of course, 2 weeks ago I picked up the EA-18G actually, electronic warfare on it. On it. Gotta stop on it. Sorry about the messing about there then. And then up here we have, that's what I'm currently building. Bear with me here because I'm just messing around. Something I've had for a few weeks now, but now I finally got the paint for her. 1144 scale B1B, and that is a beautiful plane for a bomber. Absolutely superb looking machine. So that's where I'm up to now. I do have a little bit of armour upstairs, which I will we'll show you sometime. I'll show you some built armour when I feel like boring you with something different. But that's it for now, and this is the current project. Just some gap filling and rubbing down now. Steve's unfavourite part of the job, but if it's not too bad, I'll do it. So, okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Hi, and welcome back to what is today. It's a very rainy Vancouver. Just the last update for this week. Been a busy week and a busy weekend, but a lot of filling and sanding on the Academy F15. This is not as good as the latest stuff, but good exercise for me. And I've just done a prime coat and then a rub down, and then I had to do another primer because some of the joints were not too clever. The biggest culprits being these joints here on both sides. In fact, the air intakes themselves were not brilliant all round. But good enough for me anyway. The other news is my sabbatical from the railway, which I picked up Tuesday night, did not last long, and voila, a complete rebuild, new track, a lot of the niggles with the framework and baseboard etc. that I lived with on the last incarnation now dealt with. So after a little bit of frustrating swearing and cleaning points and track, everything now runs pretty smoothly. Let's do a quick demo just to prove to you that it does. And there we go. So pretty much the same as last time, but a lot simpler this time. And I now managed to give myself 2 tracks in the fiddle yard, which is going to help a lot with flexibility. So we'll send her back into the building. So the very beginning now, the next job will be to put the sections in. After that we'll be painting the track, and then start the scenic work. A lot of hard standing to go underneath the shed where the 47 is for the fueling. Anyway, there we go. So only a quick update for you. This mess you see on the back wall will eventually disappear under a brand new back seam, and yeah, it should look a lot different. Probably won't look that much different for a little while because doing the electrics etc achieves a lot but doesn't show a lot, but I'm happy with her. It's a lot better this time, a lot better. So that's it for now, guys. And the next update, I guess the F15, I will have the engines to be built next, but she should be much closer to being finished. Wasn't sure about the joints at first. She nearly ended up talking to Dusty Bin again, but anyway, I persevered. I am supposed to be learning this, doing aircraft, so okay, and hope you have a very good week. Bye for now.